welcome to Lesson 2 in our Cambridge iGCSE Biology series. This lesson is going to be on the classification systems. Organisms can be classed into groups based on the features that they share. A species is a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring. Carl Linnaeus developed the classification system of living organisms in the 18th century. Within his system, he named organisms in Latin using the binomial system. The binomial system of naming species is an internationally agreed system where the scientific name of an organism is made up of two parts, with the genus followed by the species. When naming a species, the genus is always given a capital letter. Binomial names are always typed in italics to indicate that they are in Latin. For example, the binomial scientific name for lion is Panthera leo, with Panthera having a capital letter and all of it being in italics. The sequence for classifying living organisms is kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. A mnemonic for remembering the system of classification can be kings play chess on fancy gold squares. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Here is the sequence of classification for lions, from kingdom down to species, with the genus being Panthera and the species being Leo. If we were to look at the classification for tigers, it would be very similar to that of the lions. The only difference would be the species, because lions and tigers are in the same genus. When the Linnaeus system was created, organisms were classified using their characteristics and bone structure. However, now we can look more closely at organisms using light and electron microscopes, and we have technology to look at DNA sequences. The Linnaeus system was not replaced, but new systems for classifying organisms are being used alongside the old system. In the 1990s, Carl Woese created the three-domain system, which uses chemical analysis to classify organisms. He divided organisms into domains archaea, bacteria, and eukaryota. Archaea are a different type of prokaryotic organisms to bacteria. They are sometimes referred to as primitive bacteria. Archaea usually live in extreme environments. They were able to be separated into their own domain by looking at their genetic analysis, which revealed distinct differences. Domain is placed before kingdom in the classification system. So this is now what the classification of a lion looks like, with eukaryota at the beginning before the kingdom. Evolutionary trees represent the relationships between organisms. They can be drawn in different ways, but the general evolutionary tree looks like this. This end of the tree represents the ancestors of the species, whereas this end of the tree represents the present-day species. A join in branches represents a common ancestor for those species, and the tips represent the different species. They are able to show us the evolutionary relationships between different species. You can see which species are more closely related by looking at the branches and common ancestors. So this would be the most recent common ancestor of species A and B. Here would be the most recent common ancestor of A, B, C, and D. And this would be the most common recent ancestor of all 5 species. Evolutionary trees are created from DNA analysis and fossil data. The sequences of bases in DNA are used as a means of classification. Groups of organisms which share a more recent ancestor have base sequences in DNA that are more similar than those that only share a distant ancestor. The dichotomous key is used by scientists to determine the classification of living organisms. It is usually represented as a flowchart, where there are 2 options on each branch to help identify the organisms. So for example, does it have fur? If the answer would be yes, then you're looking at a mammal. If it's no, then you work your way further down the key to find out what you're looking at. Well done, that's another lesson complete. Our next lesson will be on the features of organisms.